Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for finding your way over here. I know it was a little bit tough on all the visitor sessions, or the rest of the sessions are on the other side. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about some of the challenges that functional test automation has within the scope of current technologies, Ajax, Silverlight, being able to record and play back against multiple different browsers. So to get started, I first want to talk about who is Telerik. I know if you've been to STAREAST before, this is the first time we've come to the STAREAST conference. So I kind of want to talk about who we are, why we're here, and what we're doing now in the space. So Telerik, we make up a lot of different pieces of the market. So we have UI components for user interface controls, whether it's ASP.NET Ajax, MVC, WinForms, Silverlight WPF controls. So we have those for the development. We also do data. So we have a reporting application for customers. We have Open Access ORM, which is kind of an object relational mapping. We have developer productivities tools, JustMock, JustCode, and of course, while we're here today, automated testing tools, WebUI Test Studio. We also do team planning. So if you're an agile shop, we can do the project planning. And then of course we have a content management system called Sitefinity for those of you that do content management systems. So Telerik are really a one-stop shop for all types of controls, applications throughout the application lifecycle. So, and we're really focused on application lifecycle productivity. So who am I? I am the Executive Vice President for the Testing Tools Division of Telerik. We are located in Austin, Texas. Most of the development for the testing stuff happens there. You can find us on Twitter at WebUI Test Studio if you want to follow us. We have a lot of booth videos and stuff. We'll have a video of this posted up there as well. And then also on Facebook for those of you that want to check us out. Today's roadmap. So we're going to talk about the challenges associated with testing Ajax. Ajax it's a very problematic thing whenever you're trying to perform actions and verifications for your test. Do elements exist? Do they not exist, but they haven't been populated properly? So we're going to kind of go through that and see how we address that within WebUI Test Studio. Cross-browser testing. Record the test once. Can I play back on multiple browsers, i.e. Firefox, Safari? We're going to talk about that. Silverlight. So for those of you that may have, your companies are now starting to do some Silverlight development. We'll talk about, where Silverlight fits into automated testing. What are the challenges associated with it? It does have some similarities with Ajax, but then again, it's its own application. So we're going to kind of talk about how that fits in and how we can address those Silverlight problems, whether it's recording the actions and the verifications. QA dev collaboration. One of the things we've tried to do with WebUI Test Studio is offer two different versions. The Dev Edition, QA Edition. Same feature set, but different presentations, whether that's in Visual Studio or whether that's outside in the standalone edition, which we'll see today. And then we'll go through some advanced features. We'll data drive some tests, show you that if you can't record everything, how you can go and script maybe a few steps within your test within a .NET language. So for the QA edition, this is just a rundown of some feature sets. I'm not going to go through these because we'll kind of see these as we kind of go through the demos. So let's start off with Ajax. So Ajax recording issues and automation issues basically fall into two buckets. And the first bucket is the element does not exist before the Ajax call. So let's say we have a page, you click a button, and maybe a data grid appears and populates with data. So before we can craft a verification against this grid, say maybe we want to verify a certain amount of rows or some content within those rows, we need to wait for that element to exist before we can then say, yes, let's verify the grid has 10 rows in it, right? So that's one group. The other group is, and this is the more problematic group, is that the element does exist. So we know it's on the page, so we've checked for it, hey, it's there, but then waiting for the Ajax call to return with the data. Right? So maybe it's a label, and after the data call, it changes the text of the label. So it's really waiting for that action to happen, and then be able to move on to the test so we don't get all these false failures whenever we do the execution. So let's actually take a look at this. So this is WebUI Test Studio QA Edition. So it's completely standalone. There's not a requirement for Visual Studio or any other software on your computer. Operates independently. So I'm actually going to open up a test that I've already created, just so it doesn't look like a ghost town inside the application. So the way we've organized WebUI Test Studio is we have 4 main tabs. We have a project tab that controls everything that's project level related. So whether that's seeing all my project files, my tests, folders for them, my test lists, quick run results, or even my project level data sources. We put all of that in the project tab. Under the record tab, this is everything recording related. So once you get a test that's in context, I want to record, I want to kind of debug it, maybe you have a step that failed, I want to kind of analyze what's going on with that failure, you can do that within the recording tab. So once you have your project and your tests, now you want to group those within test lists, and then take those test lists, which you can do here, and execute those, and actually see the results of those in a nice calendar view. So we had a failure there, these passed, we can drill all the way down into the day view, see what time they ran, and drill all the way in. So we'll get to this just in a little bit, but I just wanted to give you a brief introduction so that, as we're going through here for the Ajax stuff, we can know what's going on. So to get started, I'm just going to add a new test, and I'll just leave its default name. If I double click it, we come right to the recording tab. You'll see that it's already in focus here for the steps. So let me pull up my URL I'm going to use. So as soon as I click record, what's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and just open up IE, and it's going to attach this little toolbar up here. There it is. So this little toolbar is actually docked to the window itself. So that way it's got additional recording options that as we go through and record, those can be accessible up from the tool menu. So I'm going to go enter in my URL. Now for this demo, I'm going to show you the ASP.NET Ajax controls, just as something that you can go try out too if you download the trial version. So for what this scenario is basically, this is the scenario where the element exists, but the value doesn't. So on this page, running away from me. So on this page, after you select your flavor of ice cream, it actually puts that into this label here and changes the text. So what I'm going to do now that I've recorded these actions, and we'll go back to see those, I'm going to turn on my overlay surface. And you'll notice that as I go over all the HTML elements on this page, they're getting highlighted. So whenever I get here, because this is what I'm interested in, stop hovering, a little blue nub will pop up. And I know we always have conversations about what the best thing to call this, so we call it a nub. So what this is going to do is this is actually going to lock this element on the page. You can see that it's currently in focus. And then this menu is built against that element itself. So if I come over here and I say, I want to go to my quick tasks, and all of these applications are specific to this element at this point. So if I go to quick tasks, what I can see is that we dynamically build, well, maybe I want to do verify text contains Mocha Blast, right? I mean, very quickly be able to add these things, the verifications to your test. So we can come over here, we can double click this, and we'll notice we'll get this little pop-up that is actually showing us that it's recording. So let's actually go back to the record part. So we can see we have 4 steps. So this was the navigate, we have the clicks, and then our verification. We can also come back over here in our storyboard view, and we can actually see a visual representation of the test itself. So, and we actually highlight what we were doing within the storyboard. So you'll notice there's a little red square around where we clicked, and then we chose our Mocha Blast, and then we crafted a verification against that text element itself. So this is a good way you can kind of visually see what's going on, especially 6 months down the road. It's like, I'm looking for this test, where is it at? There's a failure in it. What is this thing actually doing? Double click it, go in here, you can quickly see what this test does. You don't have to worry about going each step by step. Oh, what was this page? And doing that type of thing. So let's go back to our steps. Now, in this Ajax scenario, the element exists, but the value didn't until we made the selection. So after we made the selection, it went back. So let me go ahead